stuff from memory. That's what I like to do as a teacher. Like, I like to, a statement from the Tao Te Ching, when they're in like a low to the ground pose, when they're in, let's say, pigeon. The pigeon doesn't have bright plumes. Its feathers aren't bright and colorful like a parrot's. But pigeons get to enjoy freedom as a result. And there's a saying in the Tao Te Ching, do not glimmer like jade or clatter like stone chimes, but rather be like the sage and wear rough clothing and keep the jewel hidden inside. So that has like multiple meanings, right? And then from that, you can link it to your practice. And right now, we're in pigeon pose. And so, is there in some way, is your life becoming a gilded cage? Perhaps we can learn from these wise words of Lao Tzu. Keep the gem hidden inside. Wear rough clothing. Don't buy a big fancy car and complain that you don't have any money. Right? I've had students that are like so broke, and I go out and I see them, and the guy's driving like a M series, a modern M series. I'm not talking about an 80s one. I'm talking like a 2019 BMW or whatever M series. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I believe you're broke because you're paying $1,800 a month for that car. Like, why don't you sell your car and buy a Toyota or whatever, buy a Chevy, and chill, man. You're not, when it's time for you to be that guy or woman, Okay, so, again, color it up with food for thought. I like bringing it into the car a lot, but you guys have seen me do that, because that's a tangible, perfect place to practice consciousness. Instead of constantly fighting for that spot or whatever, try giving a spot and see how that feels, Maybe you end up feeling better. And maybe you end up avoiding a head-on collision, too, on top of it. I'm not saying never honk. I still honk at people sometimes because they're on their phones. I can see them. They're just not paying attention. So I'll tap lightly and be like, hey, wake up, because we're in the middle of the intersection. I need to make a left, and so do you. And you're on your phone texting to your friend, so you're doing a service or whatever. So it doesn't mean that you're going to be a saint all the time and never respond, but keeping that. Okay, I don't want to get too far off. But so make your performance have impact. Bring your performance into the space in an uplifting way, in some way, or it could be even in a funny way. Now, the humor thing has always been it's questionable. You have to be careful with too much humor, because with humor, and if there's too much humor, sometimes students lose respect because you're just clowning around all the time. So it might affect your reputation a little bit. So you have to be careful. Don't do too much. My rule, I try to stay with 3 maximum, 3 jokes per class at the maximum. Because you can get off, you can just start doing jokes and then all of a sudden you get in a roll, and, they're there to do yoga. So, you might start keep it in check somehow. Unless your class is called the comedy yoga class or something, And even then, it should still be, your class should still be a good, solid yoga class, whatever you do. However much you walk around on your hands and paint the walls with lights and put on music and all that stuff, it should still be a good, solid workout and meditation, right? In this style, right? Don't forget the basics when it comes to performance and showboating and all that stuff, which is fine, because some of us do that more than others. But, you have to ride that balance. So again, 3 jokes, a couple words of wisdom. I do think words of wisdom, they're either coming for that or they're not. For me, it's something that's really important to me as a teacher. I don't want my classes ever to be like a step aerobics class or something. Like my class, if somebody could do step aerobics or my class, like I don't want them to, like you can't substitute my class for step aerobics. So try to keep that balance as well. So there is that wisdom. There should be, again, it's yoga. Yoga has a wisdom element to it, right? It's not just a aerobics class. Even my sculpt classes, I still teach like a full section of yoga in the beginning and end. So there's still sometimes I go heavier on the meditation part in the sculpt class, because some of those people are never going to do yoga. They'll only come to yoga sculpt. They're never going to touch meditation. So I'll make them like meditate instead in that class so that I know that I'm having impact. Because to me it's about changing the world more than, it's a world-changing thing versus living. Okay. How else, so now I want to open it up, how else could we, let's go this way this time. How else could you put like performance and humor into the class? Or performance or humor into the class?
How could I?
Yeah.
Just be myself. It's
Okay.
the best answer. I can't think of anything good. Can you guys think of something?
Well, think about something.
I know, let me think.
Okay, so we'll come
let me
back
hear
to
what they have to say, maybe I'll like feed off that.
Yeah.
How could we incorporate performance and humor into class?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. I know.
Okay.
I'm-
You want us to come back to you? All right.
I feel like in Yoga Sculpt, Vanessa is like a really good example of someone who's like, she, especially during the cardio sequence, she just always like, there's a performance aspect to it where she'll be like jumping with us and she'll make it like more of a party. And I think to just like perform it as a party rather than like, all right, push, like she really like delivers that energy and shows the movement too, and like acts like we're all, well, it is like it's a collective sharing of energy and like party vibe. And I think like to bring that into classes and like have that vitality and then humor as well, like because she'll joke about like our butts hurting, but like it being a positive thing for summer or whatever.
Right.
Like just contextualizing for people in humorous ways like that, while also like delivering a positive, uplifting vibe is really cool, and I would want to bring that to my classes.
Yeah. All right, so that's it. So displaying, right? Joining in, displaying a little bit, right? So she's just, I mean, it's simple. It's a very simple way to do it. Just do some poses with them, and, that's another way. Joke about, so that's called, technically it's called time distortion in NLP, which in English would mean like, there's a hard thing that's going on right now, but think of how your butt is going to look like or whatever. And I'm not saying like, but again, these are basic things. It is a workout, especially sculpt. Sculpt is a workout, and yoga is a workout too. Let's just be real about it. Yeah, we leave with some wisdom and there's like deeper lessons, but it is a workout. And like joking, like, Vanessa and I joke about that sometimes too. Like, like think of like, one of the things I'll say is like, did you see Sally's calves or whatever, Like I'll just joke about it, like when we're doing like a thing where like you lift your heel up and you're like on your tiptoe and you're, doing that. I'll say like, I know a lot of you don't think about it, but your ankles are going to be talked about on the beach this summer or whatever. And it's a joke. Like I'm not serious about it, but it is a thing. Like it's a joke and it's funny and it lightens up the room. And, it also shows that you're human and that it's not uber serious. You know what I mean? So that's performance. It's a form of performance. Right? Now what else?
I
Let's
think
expand. Let's learn.
through like preparation and also relating to your students as well, knowing that you're a human being as well, and you've been through the process, and you're in the class with your students, you're knowing what they're going through, you know, and there are times when you're clenching your jaw and your quad is so tight, and you think sink 1 inch deeper, and you think I can't do it, and if you make a joke, you know, at the hardest times during the class, it allows someone to like relax, maybe go a little bit deeper. But knowing in your sequencing where you have time to do those things, I think is really important, you know, where you're not giving someone a physical correction or a hands-on adjustment, or heavy in, you know, the dialogue of your class structure where they're in a static pose, you know, and you have time to be funny and to relate to them.
Yeah. And funny is good too, I think. Like, you know, fun and funny, you know, like that's a fun thing, you know, in a class. Because working out is a bit of a, you know, it's sort of the spinach of, you know, it can be like the spinach of life, and for a lot of people. Maybe not for all of us, but for a lot of people. They don't wake up in the morning and go, I can't wait to run up to the top of the mountain, and, you know, whatever. Like, my friends one of my students used to say to me, they're like, the things you like are my nightmare.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? They're like mountain biking. That's a nightmare to me, you know. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I wanted to know, you know. They're like, the idea of having to climb a hill on a bike, so I'm carrying 30 more pounds, and then I have to go down the hill, like, that's a nightmare. Like, I don't, you know, what are you thinking? Or whatever, you know. So lighten it up a little bit, because it's, you know, it can be very spinach. For a lot of people, it's the spinach and broccoli of life. I mean, I'm not saying like that's bad, but a lot of people, spinach and broccoli is hard to digest, you know, like they hate it, you know what I mean?
And I always notice in your class when we're doing the regular flow set, you always make us laugh when we're doing Padahastasana, because it's so, you know, our hamstrings are so tight and it's really hard to relax in that because you're thinking about all these other things. And then abs is a killer. When you make us laugh during abs, like, it's actually works your abs more, it's more painful, but it's so funny because we just keep going, and then we've lost track of time, and before you know it, the sequence is over.
Yeah. So lighten it up. Yeah, definitely crack a joke here and there. Are you ready? You got one? Okay, I'll come back to you.
I thought about the studio in Miami, and they do hip hop like music, and I guess if you wanted to, you could do maybe an 80s day, or like, you know, hip hop music, and that can kind of like lighten the mood for some people. I know some people, you know, they like the traditional yoga, but maybe it could bring a different aspect, you know, it lightens up the mood, you know, makes it more fun, you know. So music, I guess.
Yeah, like themed.
Yeah.
I've done 80s, I've done new wave, I've done 80s classes, I've done 90s. Matter of fact, one week I did like 80s, I did 70s, so like disco, 70s disco. 80s, which was like kind of new wave. I chose, you know, because every era there's a lot of genres in that era. So like you can also choose, like, for instance, I did 70s disco, 80s new wave, 90s grunge rock, and then like 2000s pop, and then I kind of stopped at the current because we're always doing like Odessa or whatever, you know, like we're always playing the more current things. So yeah, like whatever it is, you know, Billie Eilish or whatever, whoever it is. So yeah, that's another way to theme it out. That's called music theme. Yeah, so you can music theme your week and be like, we're gonna go through. I called it through the 10s. Okay. So that's a way to do it. That's perfect.
Used to have a teacher who was an amazing yoga teacher, but not really funny and kind of not the greatest like personality. But he used to play Seinfeld like on the breaks. He would just like in the middle of his music set, he would stop and he'd play like Seinfeld doing stand up, and it was the best class. It was the funniest thing ever. Yeah, he would play like a little blurb of like a joke, and then that's how he would break up like the heaviness of like the sequencing. Yeah, people would laugh.
That's funny.
and they'd fall out of the pose, and then he'd be like, see, you know, this is what yoga's about, it's, you know, just getting back up and getting back from the pose, and you go right back into the sequence. Like, but it would just really
Right.
break up like people's mental they'd be so serious. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it definitely gets really serious sometimes, and almost like hard to. It's almost hard to watch because people are so like, you know, like their faces are, you know, and like you're like, breathe, guys, breathe, come on, please, you know, let's lighten it up. So that's another thing too, which you'll feel when to do that as well. And then.
I was just gonna, before you jumped in, I was just gonna say music,
Yeah.
but like not necessarily even like theming all of the music, but just like I feel like even in other workout classes that I take, music is such a big part of it for me, and just like when it's an interesting playlist or just like music that like you can tell the instructor like put together with care, I think it can make a big difference. And like especially if you just have like fresh playlists and like different you know, like interest, just like kind of like I feel like I discover a lot of music through workout classes, and like just by having a variety or just like something new in whatever genre, it just makes it interesting.
Yeah, and also introducing them to old stuff.
Yeah.
Too. Like for me, sometimes I'll play a really, like lately I've been doing that with Stevie Wonder. I'll play like a whole thing of modern music, you know, like whatever it is, let's just say modern stuff. Rex Orange County, Billie Eilish, what's another one? Jungle, Gorillaz, you know, that kind of stuff. But then you throw in like, I'll throw in like old, like Stevie Wonder, like in the early 70s or even late 60s Stevie Wonder. And that like, you know, and then I'll say like, hey guys, this is like an old classic Stevie Wonder that I found, you know, a live performance of him that I actually wanted you guys to check out. And then you play that at the end. And it like, you know, it might introduce, you may know what it is, but like a lot of people in the classes won't even know, believe it or not, they won't know who Stevie Wonder is. Like the really young students that are not, you know, you probably know because you're a dancer and stuff, but like, you know, people that are not in the genre, not related to music, like, you know, whatever, let's say they're an accountant or something, you know, like they're just not exposed to a lot of different music, you know, so you can start exposing your students to new music. And I've had students even say, like, I really miss your playlists, you know, they're like, I really miss the, you know, like some of your playlists, that's why I came back. I'm like, oh, cool, thanks. I don't know, you know, I mean, I'll take the compliment however I can, but, you know, I do want people to come back for a lot of other reasons too, but those are definitely, music is powerful. And I mean, I don't know if I told you guys, but I mean, for a while, I didn't play music for years, and then, oh yeah, I did, I've said this in class, but I had to play music. People were like, oh, you don't play music? Oh, yeah, you know, no, I need music. I like you, but no. I'm going to music class. Yeah, they're like, I need music.
I like your gong thing too. I think it's nice.
Oh, the gong.
The end when you do that. It's nice.
The gong is fun, yeah. The gong is, for me, was really like, yeah, like it just brings me to another zone. So I felt, you know, I would play it like it. Also does give you differentiation. So differentiation is really important in yoga. I don't want anyone to ever like be like, yes, you know, I could do his class. Yeah, his class was good. Like I want them to either love my class or hate it. So I do get haters too. I have some real haters. Like they just hate my class. You know?
Why? Like, what are the reasons?
I'm trying to think of the last one. Like
They told you they?
I was correcting this girl a lot because, quite frankly, her form, she was doing stuff that was, in my educated opinion, which now I can definitely say, you know, I've got some years on this practice. She was doing stuff that would injure her body. And I kept correcting it. I kept saying, like, hey, you know what? You're pushing backwards into your upward dog pose. You're going to compress your spine. You are compressing your spine. She was young. She was like 21. And she got all mad at me. And I was like, listen, I know no one's, you know, you're not very receptive to corrections, but the stuff you're doing is gonna hurt your body soon. Like, it's not gonna take years and years. Like, you will compress your lower back within 6 months to a year. You're gonna damage your spine doing this, what you're doing. She got all mad. She wrote me a long email. How dare I correct her, because she happens to be a yoga teacher herself, and all this stuff. And I was like, I just responded. I said, look, I didn't want to offend you, whatever. Like, I guess I offended her. And I wasn't trying to offend her. It's just that if I see someone's doing something that I know will injure them rather quickly, I'm not going to stand around and let them do it. I will go up to them and say, look, it's my job. And however long she's been teaching yoga, it can't be that long because she's 21. I've been teaching yoga for 25 years now, or whatever, since 94. So whatever that, 25 years. Yeah. So I don't care. She got all mad and she was like, well, you're lucky I don't write a bad review, but because I'm a yoga teacher, I'm not going to. Like, I basically offended her. I challenged her beliefs about poses, and they were rooted beliefs. And anytime you challenge someone's beliefs, they'll get, sometimes, not always, sometimes they'll be receptive and they'll see, hey, maybe this guy actually knows something, but not always, because the ego, her emotions got all involved. And instead of, when she wrote me the thing, I said, thank you so much for the feedback. I do appreciate feedback, whether it's good or bad. I joked also, she got mad because I said that line about, the really psychedelic skate that I have. Well, I make those myself. And I said something to the effect of, so you don't have to do, it was like a joke, I said, you don't have to do LSD anymore because you can just look at this skate. This skate was modeled after one of my trips when I did acid. And a couple students laughed in the class because it was a tense moment. And she got offended. She's like, you don't know what kind of drug abuse people have and what they're going through with drugs and this and that. And I was like, I didn't even say to her she was wrong, because I have a lot of experience actually in the treatment of drug abuse and alcohol abuse, which they're both drugs as far as I'm concerned. So she got really offended by that statement. It was a joke. And I even said to her, I said, that was a joke. Technically, I did say, that was a joke, it's supposed to be funny, but if it offended you, I'm sorry it offended you. And I left it at that because I didn't want to, I just didn't want to spend like an hour writing an email, to be honest. I just responded. But respond professionally, take the criticism, thank you very much. That was supposed to be funny, sorry it offended you, and bye. Like, that's all. Just thank you for your opinion, bye. And then she can go somewhere else. That's okay. That's a healthy way to deal with somebody getting mad at your jokes. Because jokes can be offensive, especially, maybe she had a history of drug abuse, But it was true. What I was saying was true. It was modeled after LSD experience. So it should be funny, right? But not to everyone. Not to everyone. So be careful with your performance and humor. It's okay to offend some people, though. Like, just know that it is okay. You will offend them, even if you're trying not to. Because I could preach love and unity, and if I got a bunch of white supremacists in my class, I'm going to offend them. They're going to be mad and call me whatever names.
Like someone has a bad day and they're just projecting.
Or they have a bad day and they're injured, or whatever. I used to teach a bunch of really seniors. And they were in bad moods a lot, actually, because they were just always in pain and stuff. And so I teach in a psychiatric hospital, and sometimes, like, I have this one woman, she doesn't know that I actually speak Spanish, but, like, when I walk in, she's always, like, just talking trash to me, like, she's talking trash about my shoes and my dirty shoes or whatever. It's all this nasty stuff. And I'm always like, and another guy, like, you're going to get criticism when you do performances, when you do humor. You're going to deal with it. Be a performer. You just they're not for you and you're not for them. And just do your best to just, there's someone behind you that loves what I'm saying. Focus on that. And let them leave. Don't try to justify it. Just let them go. And you'll be okay. They'll be okay too. Don't escalate it. Don't say like, you need to get over your tightness or whatever. You know what I mean? What's funny is that her tagline on her Instagram account was something like, may all beings be free or something. That was like her tagline. Okay. Yeah. So it was interesting. I was like, all right, whatever. Now I was kind of bummed though because I was a little bummed about it because I don't want to, it doesn't feel good. But you got to get over it. Okay. Any other? Did I miss anything? Was there any other ways we can make it performing? I mean, performance or humorous?
I'm not sure if
Performing,
this is
entertaining, or humorous?
related directly to performance and humor, but I like when Vanessa or you adds a personal touch, like, come on, Suki, you can do 10 more, and then
Oh,
when
right.
I'm about to give up, and but like then somehow I'm more energized and like do 10 more, and I'm like
Mhm.
surprised at myself. Oh, I can do 10 more, or 20 more, or something. So I
Mhm.
think relating to students on a personal basis is really
Mhm.
important in their performance as well.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good one too.
Another
Names.
thing,
knowing
like,
names.
The
they
students'
say
names,
down,
they
remembering
may
them.
not always like when you adjust them in the moment, but they'll like it later. Like that's why like this girl got all mad that I was adjusting her. And actually I was totally like doing my job, right? Isn't that my job? When you come to yoga and I see if you're out of alignment, I'm going to adjust you a little bit. I didn't, there wasn't any like, the complaints weren't like, I was, physically aggressive or invading her space or whatever. But, yeah, say the names, do the best you can to make it personal. Sometimes people will feel like you're all over them though. That's happened more than once actually. This girl was right here. But it's happened before where someone gets really rebellious. And they shouldn't be doing classes if they don't want instruction. Like they should be doing videos probably, right?
Yeah.
That's my take on it. If you don't like instruction, don't go to a teacher. Just turn on a video and do a class in your room, in your dorm room or whatever, like that would suffice.
And you're always good about saying, like, right when we start, if you don't want a hands-on adjustment,
Right. Say you don't.
Yeah, raise your leg. Tell me.
Yeah. So, but it is good to call people. Like I have one student in the back who I have to say something to because he left now twice. The first time he did it, I didn't have time and I thought, well, maybe he was feeling sick or whatever. But like even that, like I care when people leave early because I know they're avoiding something. They're avoiding the discipline of the practice, which is be still.
I noticed that today too because
Yeah.
he's always like in the back row with me and he always leaves during meditation.
Right. So I'll talk to him first. So it'll start off with, listen, buddy, hey, I'm just curious. I noticed you leave before meditations every class.
Yeah.
And I'll let him talk. I want to hear what he has to say, why he's doing it. And then once I find out why he's doing it, there may be I'm a doctor, dude, every time for some reason. The last 2 classes, I'm a heart surgeon and I get a 911, I have to leave. I have to, by law, answer my beeper or whatever, my call. If that's the case, then you have to decide. You could still say, like, and don't come to my class. You could. But that's the excuse that I will say. Okay, you're a doctor, someone's life depends on this. Fine, just don't be disruptive. And he does, he's in the back, he doesn't care. He's in the back, it's all good. Whatever, I'll find out first, and then I'll make a decision whether I want him to participate in my class or not. I have to decide now, because it's twice, and I don't like it. I also just don't like it, too. Like, I'll be honest about it. It's not only about him. I just don't like it either. I can't tell you exactly why. I just don't like when people leave my class early.
I don't think anybody in the class likes it either. It is destructive.
It's disruptive to the class,
Yeah.
right? I do sometimes say that, but I'm also blatantly honest. I just don't like it. It
Well,
bugs me.
And also though, I think it kind of comes from like you have a goal, like you have this whole amount of time to deliver a class and like provide that experience, and like you want, and if people have hung on that long, like that's not when you intend for the class to be over. Like that's not how you want
Right.
someone leaving for your class to end.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of respect too for the craft, and there's,
Yeah.
there's there are a million reasons why, but then students can say, like, the argument to that could be, well, but you say it's my practice, you say it's for me, or whatever, like there's that side too. So then I just say, I just don't like it. So I just say, like, I don't like it in my class. You can do that if other teachers like it, you can do that in their class, but I would rather, when you come to me, that you commit for the hour unless you're sick or something. If you're really sick, I don't want you to throw up in the class. So that's body and wellness. Maybe he's got some sickness that we don't know about, whatever. But there's also the space. So there's also like how you create the space. Isn't it nice when everyone does stay?
Yeah,
Right?
I was just thinking
Like it's
that
a group environment. Right.
It's more than just at the end, the meditation is a group energy. It's not an individual practice
Right.
anymore. It's a group relaxation.
Right. I ask people to not keep coming to my class. That's my.
Has anybody ever like come back after you said and then but started, being mindful of what you've asked them
Yeah.
to do?
Yeah, they have. Most of my students that keep coming to me, they have to make a decision. They don't have a choice. Or they could be crazy or something and like keep coming, but then I'll give them no instruction. I'll ask them to leave. I'm not, I'll say please don't, again, we don't make a living by asking people to not come. I can count on my two hands of people in 25 years that I've asked not to come. I think it's 7.
Wow.
But they were being disruptive to the group, usually. Yeah. Even a woman who sexually assaulted me, I still let her come to my class.
Wow.
I just said, don't ever do that again, please. And it was genuinely it was when I was younger. It doesn't happen anymore. Now I'm mad about it.
Oh my god.
But no, when I was younger, when you're younger, you do get more of that attention. When you're older, you don't get it as much. Maybe it's respect too.
It is very flattering. Yes.
It's a weird thing. It's different. It is different for me. I don't know whether it's a male thing, but if a woman likes you that much that she's willing to reach into your pants or something, it was like a reaction. I was just like, what are you doing? Stop. This is not acceptable. If I did that to her before her class, the cops would show up probably. You know what I mean? But somehow it's it's okay. And it wasn't okay with me. It wasn't okay. It was not invited. It was not okay. Even now, to this day, it wasn't okay. But anyway, keep it somewhat entertaining. Try to make them laugh at least internally once in the class. Somewhat entertaining. Yeah?
If a student stops during the flow and is taking a longer pause, in child's pose,
Mm-hmm.
do you try to go over them and ask them how they're feeling?
I do. I usually start with a "how are you feeling" kind of thing, and then it depends on what their response is. And
If they're
That's
not
a great
feeling well,
question.
do you?
if they're not feeling well, I leave them alone. I'll usually leave them alone.
What
they're
if they
"I'm really
spend
sick."
the whole class resting though, continuously taking breaks? Because that's a great question for this
I know.
class environment.
I know. It might be what they need at that time.
Okay.
If it continues consistently over and over and over again, I might eventually be like, I've been digesting this for a while, and I think you're just being lazy, and this is kind of you could say that. I haven't said that, but you could.
I saw something like that on Saturday. A lady was up here in the front, and she was just doing whatever she wanted.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were doing something totally different. She said if you can't do the reps, just slow it down, but still do it.
Right.
The lady was doing something it was just distracting. She was in the front, and she was
Right.
doing something so off.
It
and I was
depends, right? Why are you?
I don't know if you saw that. I don't know. You
Was
were
it in
all-
my
you were
class?
all- It was not. It was during the guests that came on yesterday.
Oh, it was
From
during
San
your
Diego,
class?
and it's one lady was up here, and we were doing. I
yeah.
just noticed she was just not doing what we were doing, and I was like, "What is this lady doing?"
Right,
She's
it's
like
called,
in a whole other world, and I'm like,
it's called renting the hot room.
Mm.
That's what I call it.
that must be it.
That's not okay with you
That is,
at
I
all.
know,
Okay,
because they
that's,
ignored her, I guess, because maybe it's like, that it's embarrassing to bring up in the moment. But I think if I were the teacher and I saw that happen a few times, I probably would say something.
I go up to that type of student and I say, hey, what you're doing is really distracting me. I would prefer if you follow along as best as you can,
Yeah.
or please, like, leave the class. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just honest. When I really can't figure out what is going on in someone's head, I'm just honest with them. I just say, look, I don't know what's going on with you. I can tell maybe you're tired or you're injured or whatever, but you're really doing your own thing, and it's really breaking my distraction, and I don't want to teach with you doing this. So please, either follow along or come back another time when you feel you could,
That's
So
a
like,
nice
that's a
That's
better way to
way
just
Yeah.
come
nail
back
it.
when you can want to follow instructions.
Right.
Instead of saying, come back.
Yeah, don't say don't come back. You don't have
Say
to,
it
you never have to
anyway.
say don't come back.
Yeah.
Unless they come back and they do it again. Okay,
Right.
so now, if they've done it a second time, look, I've already spoken to you about this. Is this like a game? Is this a power struggle with you? Because I'm not here to have a power struggle with you. This is my class. It's a group environment which I am leading. In this environment, you should follow along. Or don't come to my class, please. Please leave and don't come. And usually if you have to say that, usually they don't come back after that. But again, you don't make a living by kicking people out. So keep a balance. If they're in the back corner of the room, which this guy is, that guy who left early today, they're in the very back, then that's a different subject. But again, try your best. Like, you'll know when it's crazy. Like this woman you're saying was
It's all of
totally
she
doing her
was
own
just
thing.
like totally doing it. Wasn't even like paying attention, trying to do what we were doing.
Right.
I was just like, what is she doing here?
Which woman was he right there?
She was in all black and she was bright, like red over here.